So I literally sent $3,000 to my supplier on Alibaba, and my supplier just disappeared. They didn't send me any messages for like a week, and I was like, did I just get scammed? Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dan. I'm super happy to have you here with me today. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 5 most important things that you must know before buying from Alibaba suppliers. As we all know, Alibaba is the #1 manufacturer sourcing website in the world that exists for finding suppliers for e-commerce products in China, and specifically in Asia. It's generated me millions of dollars in product sales online, having found suppliers through there for both Amazon FBA and Shopify. I've literally spoken to hundreds of suppliers on there. It's just been a very interesting journey. I will say that Alibaba is kind of a maze for people getting started with Amazon or Shopify. You got all these suppliers on the website, you got all these products popping out at you like boom, 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 boom. You're seeing words like MOQ, trade assurance, verified supplier, manufacturer, trader, and you don't really know what all that means because you're just a beginner, you're just getting started, and it might seem very confusing. I actually have another video on my channel called How to Find the Best Suppliers on Alibaba. You can check that one out as well. It's going to show you in depth on how to find the best suppliers for your e-commerce product and store. Now, one of the biggest things that beginners fear is sending money to a supplier in China and then having that supplier just run away with their money, or screwing you or cheating you in some way by sending you faulty product or something like that. I've spoken to so many people who are getting started along their e-commerce, Amazon FBA, and Shopify journey, and they're just so afraid. They're so afraid of these things happening. They're afraid of even speaking to suppliers. I've had people that, they're just scared of talking to them because they're scared of sounding stupid or looking like they don't really know what they're talking about, and then having the supplier just kind of, cancel on them and not really respond to their messages. So all these fears are completely understandable. Some people have them more than others. It really just depends, on your own emotions and fears and beliefs and things like that. For myself personally, I really didn't have that fear when I was starting out, but I definitely wondered whether it was safe to use Alibaba, to send money to my suppliers, or whether they would just like take my money and run away. So I'm going to share with you the top 5 things that you must know to successfully buy product from a supplier on Alibaba. These are literally the absolute best tips that I have for you to really have a smooth working relationship, find the absolute best supplier for your e-commerce product, and really have that comforting feeling of knowing that you have found the best possible supplier for your product, and they're going to send you good product. You can rely on them, and you can basically rely on them to be like the backbone of your business, because that's what they are. Without a great supplier, there's no such thing. An e-commerce business can't really run, can't really exist, right? So the first thing that you definitely must do when you are buying from Alibaba is to order samples. This is so important, and you should definitely order at least 3, maybe even 5 if you have the budget, because a sample is going to cost you typically $50 per unit. It's much more expensive than if you were to actually buy the units in bulk, of course, just because they have to make that sample specifically for you, and then they have to, it's just more expensive to ship an individual unit than it is to ship obviously in bulk. And the reason why we order samples is because product quality is king in e-commerce. The way that I teach on my channel and the way that I actually do my own e-commerce brands, I always focus on product quality. If the product's quality is not exceptional, I will not sell it, because I know that that's going to bite me in the ass later on. I know that it's going to just kind of screw my brand from the very beginning. So the best thing that you can do by far, like the 80-20, that's going to give you the majority of your success, is ensuring that the quality of your product is amazing. And this is why getting samples is so important. I used to YOLO it. I used to never buy samples. I used to just, back in 2017 when I started, I actually got my first successful product, which went from my investment of $1,800 to $32,000 per month. I actually just YOLO'd it and didn't even see the product, and it worked. But the thing is that kind of bit me in the ass later, because as I launched more and more products, people started, there was one particular product that I launched, the Jade Roller, and a lot of my customers were having issues with the fact that apparently it was breaking upon delivery, which I didn't really realize because obviously I didn't get samples. If I did get samples, I would have taken one look at the box and been like, okay, this is definitely going to break when it gets to the customer, because I found that my supplier wasn't using enough packing material, like the foam stuff, to really make sure that it doesn't break. So you don't want to YOLO it in 2021, 2022, 2023. You want to make sure you are ordering samples. This is so important, and it's just not worth shortcutting a few weeks of your time, because obviously you don't have to wait for the samples if you don't order them. It's just not worth shortcutting those few weeks just because you decided to skip the samples, and that really shows that you don't really care about the product quality, and you have no idea what the product's actually going to look like when it gets to your customer. One big thing as well is buying samples from multiple suppliers allows you to really kind of find the best quality product from the best supplier for the product you want to sell. Because let's say if we're selling barbecue gloves, the classic example that I'm obviously super original, I can't think of a better example than barbecue gloves, which I always use. So barbecue gloves, well, barbecue gloves are barbecue gloves, but obviously there might be some slight differences that in the customer's eyes could really make the barbecue gloves look a lot better. And so that's why getting samples, you get the point. It's so important. You can obviously see which product's actually going to be the best. What I always aim for with my new e-commerce products, with my brands, is I always try to go for the Apple Store vibe, right? So obviously the Apple Store and how Apple brands this product, it's just like the best. It's the best phone. It's the best, iPad. I don't even know what is a tablet, right? We call it an iPad. That's how good it is. Let's say if we're going to launch a barbecuing brand, well, you want to be like the Apple Store of barbecuing. You want to have the best gloves, the best everything. And it's not that hard to get that. It just takes a little bit of work. It just takes a little bit of thinking and really just sitting down with your target market, asking them questions and really being objective with them and having them objectively tell you what looks good. Another thing is that most e-commerce stores online are literally just direct from China. And the further you can get away from that, the more successful you'll be. A lot of stores, they just drop ship products from China. It looks like a very cheap AliExpress copy, and you don't want to be an AliExpress copy. You want to really build something like a Snow Teeth Whitening, something like like what we're doing with Broday, something like a Coffee Gator on Amazon, something like an Alpha Grillers on Amazon, right? So some of the most successful private label brands. So yeah, that's really why ordering samples is so important. So to order samples, all you really have to do is go on Alibaba and then type in your product. So let's say like barbecue gloves, because I'm super original. Here we are, right? So let's say that you like this pair and you like this and this. Let's just say like this one, right? So you just go here, and then what you do is you contact supplier, and then you basically send them over the supplier contact template, which you can get for free. It's part of my free Amazon FBA starter pack. You can get that link down below, and that also has a bunch of other extremely useful things that help you with finding a successful product research, contacting suppliers, as well as a few other goodies in there. So very useful. You fire them off that supplier template. Basically in that template, you're already asking them for a sample, so that's already going to be covered. Tip number 2, check your supplier's pages. This is so important. Super easy to do. I'm going to show you now. So what I mean by check the supplier's page, let's say that you're interested in this supplier right here. So what you want to do is here, I'm going to zoom in and show you. You want to look at this right here. So Henan Huayi Glove Company Limited. Just as a quick tip here, all Chinese suppliers have a 4-word supplier name. So the first word is always going to be the city where the supplier's factory is at. The second word is always going to be the name that they actually chose for themselves. So in this case, it could be, I think it's Huayi Glove, and then the third word is going to be like the type of business, and the fourth word is going to be the business entity. So in this case, it's a limited company, and Huayi Glove, right? But if you look at any other suppliers, if we go barbecue gloves and we just search by suppliers instead, we hit search, you'll find here that you can see Zhengzhou Zomad Company, right? So Zhengzhou, that's the city. Shengji, that's the city. Shenzhen, obviously Shenzhen, I got to get out there. I'm actually really looking forward to that. Maybe when the world situation dies down a little bit, and with the tests and all that, but I really want to go to Shenzhen. Side note, I just worked with a lot of suppliers from there, but yeah, Ningbo, that's the city. Guangmu is the name they chose for themselves. Hardware, like some suppliers will choose an English name, but yeah, it's just a cool little tip to know. So I'm going to show you how to actually evaluate a supplier based on their page. So what you do, let's say this one right here, right? So what you do is you look for a few things. So the first thing you want to look for is trade assurance. This means that you can actually pay them via Alibaba's trade assurance payment method, which is the safest payment method, because basically Alibaba holds your money in escrow in their account. You send the money to Alibaba's account. You don't send it directly to them. It's not a direct wire transfer to your supplier. And so basically what happens is that, as long as you've actually confirmed all the details of your deal with the supplier in Alibaba's message center, which is very important, and I'm going to touch on this later, then if anything happens, if the product has problems, or if they don't send you enough product, or anything at all happens, you can actually get a refund, and Alibaba will return your money to you, and they'll solve the problem. So, Alibaba would obviously not be such a big company if they just let suppliers scam their customers, right? So there you go. So trade assurance, very important. That's what you look for. One thing though is that I don't like to use Alibaba's message center to talk to suppliers, because it is super clunky and it's super laggy. It's terrible. I don't know who coded that. They need to freaking code a new message center or something. So what I do instead is I talk to them via Skype or WhatsApp, which is sometimes banned in China, so they have to use like a VPN. WeChat as well, but recently that's been having issues with the government. I think they put some blocks on WeChat, but Skype is usually the best way. So you can just use Skype. You can message them. That's what I do. And then basically as soon as we actually have our negotiations finished, our deal is confirmed, at that point, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm going to send you everything we talked about on the message center, and I want you to just verbally confirm it. And then as long as you have a record of that there, then you can pay via Alibaba Trade Assurance, assurance, and then Alibaba will cover you just in case anything happens. All right, so once you've confirmed that the supplier has trade assurance, the next thing you want to look for is verified supplier. So it's a special badge. You can see here that the Zhengzhou Zomagic company doesn't have it, but Zhengji has the verified supplier badge. Basically what this is Alibaba has like a special supplier vetting program where they actually go and send in their inspectors to check out a supplier and, you know, really kind of make sure they meet the standards. And so you'll find that if you filter out by trade assurance like this, you can also do it when you're searching for products. So right now we have 1280 once we do trade, and then if we do verified, we have 361 with both checkmarked. You can see that the number drops significantly. So verified is always a good thing to look for a supplier, but if it doesn't say verified, like let's say you really found a supplier and the product is good, you got a sample, that's fine. The supplier doesn't have to absolutely be a verified supplier, but the supplier should absolutely have the trade assurance badge. Okay, the next thing you look at is, let's say you're looking at the supplier, right? So you zoom in and you look at the revenue. So if the revenue is anything, you know, above like in the millions basically, and most of them are, then that's a good sign. That means that they move a lot of volume and they're very experienced with the whole exporting thing, right? So that's a good sign. And then what you want to do also is you want to click into the supplier, and that's going to take you to the company overview page. And so then what you want to do is you want to scroll down. One thing you look at is the manufacturer or trading company sign here. So it's either going to say just manufacturer, just trading company, or both. The difference is that a manufacturer, they make the product. A trading company actually is the middleman. So they'll buy from a factory and they'll resell it at a markup. Now, I've worked with trading companies equally as I've worked with manufacturers in the past, and it's no big deal. In this case, if you see both, that means that they actually make some product, but they also have the power to be a middleman and source products from other suppliers as well, which is a good thing because they just make it easier. You know, a lot of the connections in China, all these suppliers they have like all these connections with each other, and they just know how to source all their products and where to get them from, right? You can also look at certifications. So this one's ISO, which is always a good thing to have. You can see where it's from, employees, and then you also want to look at like the pictures, right? So most of them are pretty generic, like, yeah, we see the barbecue gloves, you know, that's how they're made. You know, there's the dude, he's chilling. And then you also want to look at the years in business. So if it's anything above 2-3 years, that's fine. Especially here, this 11 years. So that really shows that they're experienced. The next thing you want to look for on Alibaba is you want to make sure that you always get a product inspection done. Now, I'm going to link the best company that I personally work with and that all of our team members that run successful e-commerce brands work with at my company, Ecom Freedom. I have an entire team of people, and several of us actually own successful brands doing amazing numbers on Shopify and Amazon with our brands. So I'm going to link our preferred inspection company down below. They're the best. Typically, why you want to do this is, you know, sometimes you're going to pay money to a supplier and they're going to manufacture the product and it's just going to have defects and faults. And actually a certain amount of defects per, let's say 100 units or per 1,000 units is normal. So in any manufacturing process, there's always going to be an allowance for defects. That's just a normal thing. But obviously with a product inspection, you can have an inspector actually go to the supplier, go to the supplier's place, and then they're going to actually open up the box and really take a look at the product. And typically how it works is, let's say if it's a 1,000 unit order, what's going to happen is that they're going to open 80 of the units. So that's typically how it is. It's not every single unit. That would be incredibly expensive and incredibly inefficient, and there's no need for that. So always get an inspection. It's going to cost you a few hundred, but you know, believe me, I've had inspections before, and it was such a good thing that I did, because if I didn't do the inspection, I would have literally sent in garbage product. Like, it was just not good. And so that way you can really fix things with your supplier before you before that inventory gets to Amazon, and you risk getting bad reviews and just an overall bad start to your business. All right, tip number 4, you want to pay your supplier at the following deposit rates. So typically what I do is 30/70, meaning that when you actually agree to a deal with your supplier, you want to pay them 30% of the total order up front, of the total invoice amount. And then once they actually finish manufacturing your product, that could take like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and they're ready to ship it out, then you pay them the rest of the 70%. Most suppliers are very willing to do this, but some suppliers actually will not want to do this for some reason. That should be a red flag. If they're really being adamant about the fact that no, we can't do 30/70, well then offer them to pay 50/50. So 50% up front and then 50% before the product gets shipped out to Amazon. They will not ship out the product out of their factory until you pay the full invoice amount, which is fine. So 30/70 or 50/50. And if they insist on 100%, I would just skip the supplier. Tip number 5, make sure you negotiate. So with Alibaba suppliers, they're not going to be the most direct with you. And when you contact these suppliers in China, they're always going to give you the highest prices. They're always going to basically assume that you're going to try to negotiate the price down by at least 25% down, 30, or even half down. And so that's why it's so important to negotiate. Like, everything is negotiable with Chinese suppliers. Everything, the MOQs, the minimum order quantity price. Another great technique is to ask them, how much is the price for 5,000 units? And so typically, obviously, the price will be much, much lower at 5,000 units than at 1,000 or 500. And so you can actually use that. So if they tell you that it's $1 at 5,000 and $2 at 1,000, well, then you can try to get that price and move it all the way down to, as close as you can to that dollar value. Maybe $1.25 is fine. You want to make sure that through your negotiations, you're not being super aggressive, and that you always do what ends up being a win-win deal with your supplier and yourself. If it's not a win-win, trust me, they're going to figure out a way to screw you, and it's just not going to be good for your business. You want to make sure that they're happy, because just like yourself, they're also in the game to make a profit. And one final bonus tip, you want to make sure that your product has no restrictions when you are going to sell it on Amazon. This is something that screws up a lot of beginners, because they don't realize that a lot of products on Amazon are actually restricted, or they have patents, or they're trademarked, the name that they want to do. So an easy way to figure out if your product is restricted or not is just to look at the Amazon restricted products list. I'm going to link that down below as well. And then also check out any patents that are actually active on your product. What a patent is basically somebody who invented a product, they patented a specific product design, and they have an exclusive license, a patent, to sell that product. And so no one else can sell it. And Chinese suppliers have no idea. They have no idea, and you can't expect them to have an idea, because they're all the way in China. Even though they're selling to US customers, it's not really their responsibility to know what's patented and what's not. Anyway, they wouldn't tell you, because that's hurting their business, right? And quite frankly, they don't care. So make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure that you always check these things. And another great thing to do is to create a ghost listing. I talk about this in my super long, super in-depth 5-hour Amazon FBA video. So that's really, really useful as well. You'll find a link to that down below. You can check that out. I have an entire playlist of all my most valuable Amazon FBA videos to help you start your business. Now, one of my biggest tips by far, and this is a final note that I want to leave you off with this video, supplier relationship is key. A lot of people don't really realize that your supplier relationship is the backbone of your e-commerce business. And if you screw up the relationship with your supplier, it's the death of your business. Your business is already dead at that point, because obviously your supplier is just gonna not want to work with you. And if you piss them off, they might send you bad units. They might just literally refuse to work with you in the future. My point is that if you try to screw your supplier, they'll definitely screw you. Make sure that it's always a win-win. This is just human relationships, psychology. I guess we're all selfish in our own ways, but the best deals are always win-win deals. At least that's what I believe, and I've used that approach in my e-commerce businesses and in my supplier relationships, and it's worked amazingly. Now, finding a good supplier is just one part of getting a successful e-commerce business up and running, because once you find a supplier, you need to figure out how to market your product, build out your store and listing, figure out how to launch your product on Amazon so that it actually starts getting sales, because a lot of people think that once you get the product on Amazon, it's just going to start selling, when it's not. You need to figure out a way to actually get it to page 1, because page 1 and page 2 is where all the sales happen, mostly on page 1. There's all these things that you need to do, and you need to learn how to do to make sure that your hard-earned money that you paid for your inventory does not go to waste, and actually ends up being a very profitable business and endeavor for yourself that gives you financial freedom, and a real business that can actually support your dream freedom lifestyle. So all these steps, obviously they involve a steep learning curve, and as much as I cover all this on my YouTube channel, there is no better resource than getting a quality course in mentorship. So I cover all this in the Ecom Freedom course, which is my coaching company's course, where we've helped literally thousands of people start successful Amazon FBA businesses and change their lives, reach 6-7 figures per year with their businesses, and really build out successful e-commerce brands that keep growing and that can later be sold for a cash windfall at millions of dollars. You can check out some of the student success interviews that I've had on my channel. I film literally a new interview every single week, because we have so many successful students. So you can check those out on my channel and really see kind of like from the students themselves, people who have actually succeeded. So you have unlimited access to the course, everything you need, 100 hours of step-by-step video, and you get dedicated access to our team of 7-figure Amazon FBA verified sellers, as well as myself. And then, my results, you can find them on YouTube, in the YouTube community. I actually posted the results of one of our brands, Bro Day, where we're doing like 2 5K days, 2K 5K days. So you can check that out as well. And then, you also have mentorship calls, Zoom calls with myself, as well as our team of actual successful Amazon FBA sellers. So it's by far the #1 best investment that you can make. Most people that try to get this business up and running for free, they end up failing, they lose a bunch of money. So there's going to be a link down below to a 7-day free trial. You can try it out for free, 0 risk. There's literally no excuse not to try it out, because if you don't like it, you can get your money. We don't even take any money. So, you're not going to lose anything. And there's also a special offer that you can take advantage of as well, just to make it a little bit easier for you to actually join. We always run some kind of a deal. You'll also find a case study below called the Freedom Blueprint. where I take a brand new product, a brand new brand, and then scale it to $1 million valuation and then 6-7 figures per year. So depending on when you watch this video, it's either still in production or it's going to be available. That's also going to be down below as well. And finally, this is going to be super helpful too. If you are looking for between 1 and 10K for your e-commerce brand and you want to partner up with the best in the industry, with myself as well as my team of successful sellers, then you can go ahead and apply for investment. There's no other company, there's no other person online that's doing this. So if you want between 1 and 10K and you want to partner up with the best, and with us, we're really going to make sure that we grow your brand and we help you really take it to the next level, then you can go ahead and also apply down below for the Ecom Freedom VC. The deadline for the current round of applications will also be found there. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel for the absolute best entrepreneurship e-commerce videos. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Add me on Instagram at Dan Bass. I always answer DMs, so you can send me a message on there if you want as well. Thank you so much. See ya.